Welcome to the YouTube channel Living Diaries, where today we dive into an inspiring eclectic Scandinavian loft tour that brings cozy minimalism together with bold vintage charm in small spaces. In this tour, we focus on how Scandinavian simplicity can harmonize with eclectic flair to create a warm and signature living experience in limited square footage. We will explore how decor, natural light, material contrast, and functional furniture bring this loft to life. You will learn how small spaces can still feel expansive with conscious design decisions and how the owner uses bold vintage pieces as personal storytelling anchors. Stay with us through this journey and do not forget to subscribe for more immersive home stories at the end. One, the heart of the loft living area. The living space forms the emotional core of this eclectic Scandinavian loft, setting the tone for comfort and expressive character. This area features minimalist furniture with quiet tones that allow the vintage accents to speak freely without visual competition. Soft textures like wool throws and cotton cushions invite relaxed living while maintaining a sense of thoughtful simplicity. Every object seems chosen with intention, balancing the calm of Scandinavian restraint with the quirkiness of curated vintage finds. In this living zone, the interplay between modern coziness and historical objects creates an atmosphere that feels layered and meaningful, not cluttered. Vintage lamps or hand-carved side tables act as sculptural art pieces more than purely functional objects. Light bounces off pale floors and white walls, elevating visual brightness so the room feels larger than it actually is. This is where visitors immediately grasp how small spaces can reveal enormous personality when curated with care. Two, Scandinavian Minimalism Reimagined. Scandinavian minimalism in this loft is not simply a lack of objects but a presence of clarity and serenity that shapes how the space feels and functions. Clean lines and muted palettes form a peaceful blank canvas, allowing the eye to rest rather than rush. The materials chosen are modest yet tactile, celebrating raw wood, natural fibers, and matte finishes. Here minimalism becomes a philosophy of intentional living rather than emptiness. The owner avoids classic minimalism that feels sterile and instead embraces a warmer reinterpretation that still includes personal history and decorative expression. A vintage rug or patterned textile becomes a visual punctuation in an otherwise calm visual language. The overall result is a softer type of minimalism that has soul rather than simply symmetry and order. This approach shows how minimal design can still feel emotionally rich and deeply personal. Three, vintage touches with bold personality. Bold vintage style enters the loft like a charismatic guest who brings stories and nostalgia with every object. These elements are not just decor but memory anchors, often sourced from flea markets, family inheritance, or carefully researched antique travels. Each vintage item holds its own history and subtly amplifies the loft's character. With every glance, you discover new details that enrich the narrative of the home. Rather than overwhelming the space, these vintage touches elevate the overall design by adding contrast against the calm Scandinavian backdrop. A rustic cabinet or distressed leather chair keeps the space from feeling too polished, injecting warmth and authenticity. This mixture of time-worn textures with modern simplicity gives the loft its unique personality. It is a design method that celebrates both old-world charm and contemporary clarity in harmony. (4) Functional space optimization. Small spaces demand smart design, and this loft demonstrates mastery in layout efficiency without sacrificing beauty. Multifunctional furniture pieces provide hidden storage and flexible daily living solutions. Tables fold, stools stack, and surfaces transform in ways that reveal or conceal according to need. This keeps the loft uncluttered while still accommodating real-life demands. The thoughtful use of vertical space is also evident, with shelves rising upward and hooks mounted at just the right height to preserve floor area. Even doors and alcoves are utilized creatively for storage or display. Instead of fighting spatial limitations, the design embraces them with inventive solutions. It is a clear example of how function can be fused seamlessly with visual harmony. (5) The cozy kitchen corner. The kitchen area blends Scandinavian simplicity with warm vintage flourishes, creating a highly functional culinary nook that invites creativity. Soft neutral cabinetry keeps the space visually calm while pops of aged metals and ceramic textures add flavor. The cooking area feels grounded in history even as it supports modern daily use. This duality gives the kitchen a lived-in yet refined presence. The owner has intentionally selected utilitarian objects that are also beautiful enough to remain visibly stored, such as handcrafted cutting boards and vintage vessels. Natural light filters through, making the space bright and energizing during meal preparation. Even in its small footprint, this kitchen radiates personality and warmth. It reminds us that good design does not demand size but thoughtful choice. Six, the elevated sleeping loft. The raised sleeping area feels like a cozy sanctuary floating above the life of the home. Soft textures dominate here, with linens, blankets, and fabrics chosen for their comfort rather than just visual appeal. Dimmed lighting and gentle warm tones create a cocoon-like retreat. This is where Scandinavian coziness truly blossoms. The sleeping loft is carefully arranged to avoid claustrophobia, using light coloration and low-profile furniture to maintain openness. Decorative accents are minimal, allowing the mind to rest rather than wander. This visually quiet space contrasts beautifully with the more expressive areas below. It captures the emotional core of living in a small but nurturing home. Seven, natural light and airiness. Light plays a starring role in this loft, acting as both a design element and mood setter. Large windows and unobstructed pathways allow daylight to flow freely throughout the space. Pale floors and white walls reflect rather than absorb light, making the loft feel more expansive. The openness created by this brightness fosters calmness and breathing space. During different times of day, the space transforms as sunlight shifts in tone and direction, creating gentle atmospheres from morning to dusk. Evening ambient lighting picks up where natural light fades, maintaining softness rather than harsh brightness. This is an intentional orchestration of illumination rather than accidental illumination. It shows how light can be an architectural feature even in modest areas. Eight, greenery and organic accents. Plants bring a living rhythm to the loft, softening lines and infusing natural vitality into every nook. They thrive in the ample sunlight and help create a sensory connection to nature indoors. Their organic shapes contrast beautifully with the clean Scandinavian geometry. Their presence breathes life into the home. Whether trailing vines from high shelves or small potted herbs near the kitchen, each plant is chosen to complement rather than compete with the decor. They add a subtle dynamic element that changes over time as they grow and shift. This evolving greenery layer makes the loft feel like a gently living organism. It reinforces the concept of space as something fluid rather than fixed. (9) Personal collections and storytelling. The loft is not merely decorated but narratively curated through meaningful objects and personal artifacts. Books, heirlooms, artworks, and vintage finds all serve as story fragments that piece together the identity of the dweller. Each item is not there for visual effect but for emotional resonance. This transforms the loft from a living space into a lived story. The result is a home that feels deeply authentic rather than staged. The spirit of accumulation is one of mindful collecting instead of random acquisition. Personal touches bring warmth and honesty, inviting visitors to connect emotionally with the space. The design becomes a reflection of life experience rather than a showroom aesthetic. (10) Textures and materials. Texture is a silent design language in this loft, speaking through touch and tone more than color. Rough wood, smooth ceramics, and cozy fabrics create a layered tactile environment that feels inviting and intimate. These surfaces encourage not just visual appreciation but physical interaction. The loft becomes an immersive sensory experience. Materials are chosen for durability and authenticity, foregoing glossy artificial finishes. There is a humble elegance in these selections, as they age gracefully and develop character over time. The textures work in harmony to shape both mood and perception. They remind us that real beauty is often felt rather than seen. Harmonizing old and new. The distinctive charm of this loft comes from its ability to knit together elements of past and present with ease. Modern furniture sits comfortably beside storied antique pieces without a sense of friction. This balanced design approach shows that eclectic styling can feel cohesive when guided by intention. The result is a home that transcends design categories. Instead of dividing eras of style, the loft merges them into unified visual storytelling. Old objects are not relics but living contributors to modern life. New elements do not overshadow history but provide a fresh framework for it. The overall ambience is timeless and deeply comforting. Living small with big style. This loft proves that small spaces can be abundant in style and emotional comfort when thoughtfully designed. Instead of limiting the homeowner, the compact footprint inspires creativity and mindfulness. Every inch has purpose, and nothing feels wasted or excessive. It is an empowering example of living large within a small scale. The lesson taken from this loft is that personality and warmth do not require physical size but rather integrity of design. When you choose objects intentionally, arrange them harmoniously, and respect the spirit of the space, even a tiny home can feel expansive and luxurious. This approach celebrates quality over quantity. It encourages us to transform our own spaces one meaningful detail at a time. Final thoughts. As we conclude this eclectic Scandinavian loft tour, We hope you have found inspiration in the fusion of cozy minimalism and bold vintage style within a compact living environment. This home demonstrates how atmosphere, texture, light, and personal memory can work together to craft a living space that feels deeply authentic. May it encourage you to view your own home as a space for storytelling rather than mere functionality. Thank you for spending this moment with us on Living Diaries. If you enjoyed this exploration and want to see more intimate and inspiring home journeys, make sure to subscribe to Living Diaries for future tours and thoughtful design reflections. Your support helps us continue producing meaningful content that honors creativity, individuality, and mindful living. We look forward to welcoming you back into another home soon. Until then, keep living beautifully and thoughtfully in your own space.